So, hi everybody, and thanks for having me at this conference, and thanks for coming to my talk, which I hope you like. I hope you find it really useful about sales. Top 5 sales mistakes. These are easy mistakes to make, but they're also easy to avoid. And so once you've seen them, I hope it really helps. So I'm from England, and in England we don't really like salespeople. We're very suspicious about the whole sales process. I made up a definition of selling just for a laugh a few years ago, which is that selling is making new friends and helping them. And actually, I think that's true. I think, the more I think about that definition that I just made as a joke, I think sales is about making new friends and then helping them, isn't it? And helping them in what way? And it's probably helping them to find the right product. You know, if I want to hire a yacht, you got to help me work out how big do I need and what do I want fancy stuff on this yacht or what. So your job's to help me to get the right product. It's also to help me realize that it's worth paying extra. It's worth paying extra for quality and extra features. So why should I pay the extra? And that's really, I think, what sales is about, helping people to realize that it is worth it. When I had my website made, I just wanted a really cheap one. And they convinced me to have all these extra things. And it was really worth it. It's brought in all sorts of leads and things. And I'm eternally grateful to them for showing me why it was worth paying the extra. So I think that's really the essence of sales. And that takes me to the first of my 5 mistakes, which is offering a discount, because your job isn't to come down in price, it's to convince the customer that it's worth paying the price. That is your job as a salesperson. And so I've put on here, offering a discount is just mad, but actually even giving a discount if they ask, even agreeing to a discount is not good. But definitely don't just offer it, because if you offer it, you're saying there's something wrong with what you're selling, and you're saying that initial price was just a number that you made up. And you're already going to come, you don't really believe in that price. So that's not good. But even giving a discount if you're asked is a bad idea. So I find that occasionally, people ask me, what will it cost to talk at a conference? And I sort of make up a number, really, to be honest, depending on how I feel. How busy am I? Do I want to go to Zagreb? Yes, I kind of do. So, so I make up a number, and then usually they just go, okay then. And then I think, damn, I should have charged more. But sometimes they go, oh, that's quite expensive. Can you come down a bit? And I always just say, no, I can't, I'm afraid. That's the price. And then 9 times out of 10, they just go, oh, okay, just thought I'd ask. So by just saying no when they ask, 9 times out of 10, that works. 1 time in 10, they go, well, in that case, we can't hire you. And then I go, oh, all right, I'll come down a bit. But always say no the first time if they ask, and never offer a discount. Okay, so that's, and I've got a few more things I just want to say about price. They shouldn't be buying on price. We never buy the cheapest. Did you buy the shirt you're wearing because it was the cheapest one in the shop? Or did you buy those glasses because they were the cheapest ones that you could get? Almost certainly not. Are you driving the car that was the cheapest one you could get? So we very rarely buy on price. And your customers shouldn't be buying on price. If they're buying on price, it means you haven't done any selling at all. You haven't showed them why you're great. So they shouldn't be buying on price. And so, actually, I want to say one other thing about price before I get onto that bit about a discount, which is that what you should be doing, I'll talk about me first and then you, actually. Suppose I can do 2 talks a week, because obviously there's all the travel and everything. So suppose I can do 100 talks a year. How do I set my price? And I need to set my price so that I sell 100 a year. So if I have 150 people wanting me and I can only do 100, I'm too cheap. All right, aren't I? I don't want to do 100 talks at a price that would have brought in 150. So I need to choose a price that's going to bring in the right amount. So if I've got a certain number of boats and a certain amount of slots that I can hire them out to people, I need to set my price so that I'm going to sell exactly that number. And if I'm selling more than that, or I'm getting more inquiries than that, then I'm too cheap. But that does mean that some people are going to say we can't afford that, and that's fine because you're not targeting them. So Ferraris only want to sell maybe 500 a year, and there's lots of people like me who can't afford them, and Ferrari don't care about that because they only want to sell 100, don't they? So they're not going to come down in price to me. They're just going to say, well, you're not one of our 500 people who are going to be buying a Ferrari, sir. So really, you shouldn't be coming down in price because you should have set the right price to start with, and if people can't afford it, that's their problem. Okay, but also let's look at this from another point of view. Suppose you're making 10% profit. I wouldn't photograph it yet because I've got a few more lines I'm going to add, actually. But the trouble is I'm not quite sure how many more. Anyway, if you're making 10% profit and you give them a 5% discount, and a 5% discount is not very much. In fact, I would argue most people don't even notice 5%. So if it's £2,000 to hire a yacht, if it was 2,100, are people going to go, oh, well, in that case, I'm not going to hire it? You know, do they care about that extra £100? I would say most people don't. Now, some do, and I'll come to them later, because we don't like them. But generally, they don't care about an extra £100. And the difference between 2,000 and 1,900 doesn't really make much difference. But what have you done to the profit if you give them 5% off? And you've halved it. You've got to sell twice as many now to make the same profit. Now, you might sell slightly more if you come down. I actually don't think you'll sell any more by coming down by 5%. But what's definitely true is you're not going to sell twice as many. So therefore, you mustn't do it. Okay, so you can just see it. I'm going to look at some real numbers, actually, in a moment. So you just got to be really confident in your price. And you've just got to think, well, you know, we cost a bit more than our competitors, but that's because we're better than them. That might be the last line, actually. Oh, no, it isn't. So I think if you are going to come down in price, there's only one way you're allowed to do it, and that's if you trade. So if somebody says, if we book the yacht for 2 weeks, can we have a cheaper price? The answer is, well, yes, very slightly cheaper, because you're still going to make more money if you do that. So if you can trade in some way, or if I say, if you give me a cheaper price for your yacht, I'll put lots of pictures of my holiday on LinkedIn, and I'm connected to loads of people, and you might think, well, yeah, okay, let's do that. So sometimes there's a trade that can be worth doing. But if you come down without trading, you're just saying that your first price was made up and was basically dishonest. But I want to go back to some numbers. Let's just ignore that for a moment and have a look at some numbers on here. I'm going to come back to those lines that you didn't see there. It's okay. Here's a little game. Now, I didn't fiddle this. All right, I made this up a few days ago and added it into my presentation because I was just thinking about this. So let's suppose that you're charging £2,000 for whatever it is. It might be to hire a yacht for a week or something like that. And you could obviously put your own numbers into this. But let's suppose you're charging £2,000, but you're contemplating maybe putting your price up to 2,500, or maybe cutting your price to 1,500. And suppose that you know that at the moment, 50% of people who inquire about the price pay it. And suppose that you somehow can find out that if you put the price up to 2,500, only 20% of people will pay it. And if you cut your price down to 1,500, 80% of people will pay it. The question is, should we do that? Now, obviously, before we even think about this, you have to get those facts. We've got some places at the front if you want to come. I do spit a little bit, that's the only trouble. Oh, I forgot to say, by the way, firstly, you don't have to wear masks if you don't want to. I'd quite like to see whether you're smiling or not, or whether you're sticking your tongue out at me. But obviously, if you'd rather wear a mask, do, but don't feel you have to, because we've got distanced chairs. And the other thing is, ask me questions as I go along if you want to. I'm not going to do that questions at the end thing where it all goes quiet. And so just ask me as we go along, or ask me at lunchtime, or whatever. Okay? So before we even think about this, we need to know, would we get 20% or 30 or 40% if we put our price up? And how many extra would we get if we cut the price? How can we find that out? And the answer is experimenting. Just try quoting different prices. So everybody whose name begins with C, quote them 2,500, just see what happens. Or everybody on a Tuesday, just quote them 2,500, and just do some experimental pricing. And you might find, and I did this a while ago, I put my price up quite a lot, and I didn't lose a single customer. So then I was thinking, oh, should have done it years ago. But a little bit of experimental pricing can be really interesting, actually. I think training might be like perfume, that if you charge more, they think you're better. I don't know. I don't know how it works. It's still a mystery. And yet here I am talking about it and move on from that. So, but let's suppose that you knew those numbers. Who thinks we should put our price up to 2,500? Can I do a little survey? We've got a few votes for that. Who thinks we should cut our price and sell more? Anybody going to go for that? Anyone doing maths in their head? Nobody thinks we should cut the price? Okay. And who thinks we should just leave it the same? Who thinks leave it the same? Yeah. And who doesn't know and has lost the will to live because we're hungry? It's nearly lunchtime. I'm worried I'm going to collapse of starvation, but I think it's going to be okay. But at least I'm going to get a little bit thinner, so that's good. So let's just look at a few more numbers. So I did the multiplication for you on an Excel spreadsheet. And so you can see at the moment we're selling, let's say, to 50 people. Suppose we have 100 inquiries. We've sold 50 at 2 grand, 100 grand. So you can see if we cut the price, we're going to actually have more money coming in. Does that mean we should do it? No, exactly, not necessarily. But if you incentivize your salespeople on turnover, which usually is what they do, if you reach 120 grand turnover, you can have a bonus. That's what they're going to do. And if turnover is what you're interested in, there is a risk you're going to cut your price. So salespeople, often they don't really care about the turnover. They just care about how many sales they get. I hate it if I don't get a sale. It really bugs me. Why didn't I get that job? I should have got that job. So I just want to sell everything to everyone because that's, you chase after the shiny things, don't you, if you're a salesperson? You can't help it. So I would be really wanting to get 80% or more of my inquiries. But actually, if cutting your price is the way you do that, it's a bad idea. You want to do it by being better at selling, really. Because let's just put some costs in here. Now, I've just made up a number for costs. And I've made up a number, which means you can see here that if I cut my price down to 1,500, I've made it so I'm still making some money. And that's only £100, but that's, most people only make about 5 or 10% profit. So maybe that's realistic. So knowing what we now know, the question is, what should we do about our price? So I've just worked out the profit on each sale. So you can see here that if we're selling it for 2,000 and our costs are 1,400, we're making 600 quid. If we put the price up to 2,500, we're now making 1,100. We've doubled the profit, approximately, that we're making on each sale. But the trouble is, we're selling only half the amount, sort of thing. So if you work out your actual profit, we've got these numbers here. Now, this is just one I've made up. And what you should do is work this out for your world. Do some experimental pricing and find out what would happen. But what I think is interesting about this is that you can see here that the biggest profit is to keep my price the same. But who thinks I should actually put my price up? Does anybody think I should? Yeah. And the question is why? And I think the reason you're thinking that is you could make almost the same money for half the work. And that would give you a load of spare time that you could develop new products and do much better marketing and do a load of stuff. And actually, there's probably a peak in between those two numbers. You'll probably find that somewhere around 2,200, you'll sell about 35, and that's probably your maximum profit, actually. But the reason I wanted to show you all of this is that the best place to be always seems to be the point where you sell 50% of your inquiries. Okay? So the price I should charge is where 50% of my customers say, I'm not paying that. And 50% go, okay then. Because if 100% of customers go, yeah, all right, I'll pay that, it means I'm too cheap. It means they would have paid more. It's highly unlikely my price was exactly the most they could afford. So almost certainly they could afford more than that, and they were thinking, oh, he's a bit cheap. So you'll find when you do this maths that every time, whatever your numbers are, the best place to be is where 50% of customers can't afford you. And that's quite horrible for salespeople because that means that you have to lose 50% of your business on price and be fine with that. I'm fine with the fact that half of my possible customers can't afford me. I'm lying. I'm actually not fine with it. I hate it. But that's what the maths tells me. All right? I have to set a price where half of them go, I'm not paying that. And that is quite difficult, actually. But that's what the numbers say. And whatever you do, don't cut the price. Your turnover may go up, but your profit plummets, especially if you're only making 10%. So I'm going to go back to that slide that I had up there earlier. We're going to send you all the slides after this, but it's quite good to take pictures of them as well, I think. So you want 50% to not be able to afford you. And by the way, they always say it's price. So if they don't buy your service, they'll probably say it's price when maybe it isn't. It might be they didn't like you, or they have some suspicion about the quality you're offering or something like that. Why would they not tell you? Why would they just say it's price? And the answer is, it's much easier just to say, sorry, it's too expensive. We've all done that, haven't we? No, it's just too expensive. The truth is, it's not usually that. There's something else. So if you're going to lose 50% on price, you actually want about 70 or 80% of people to say you're too expensive, because some of those, that's not the real reason. Anyway, the last bit on this first mistake is the people who can't afford you are the ones you don't want anyway. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed how the customers who are really fussy about price always turn out to be a total pain? And I think that's because they're buying on price rather than quality. If somebody just wants the cheapest yacht, then they don't understand quality, and they're just going to be an idiot, aren't they? You don't want them anyway. So we want people who understand quality and are prepared to pay a little bit more for it. They're going to be better customers. So don't worry about the fact you're going to lose some business on price, because they're the ones we don't want anyway. Right. I want to go on to mistake number 2 now. And mistake number 2 is forgetting the number one. And I do this all the time. I quite often forget the number 1 rule of selling. But what is the number 1 rule of selling? And the number 1 rule of selling is to be a great listener. Listening is absolutely the key skill. There was an experiment they did once where they got a load of salespeople and they said to them, we don't care whether you get any orders or not. We just want you to find out as much as you can about the customer. So when you come back from visiting the customer, we're going to ask you, what did you find out? And your bonus will depend on how much you found out. What do you suppose happened? Yeah, they sold loads more. Because they uncovered all sorts of needs, found all the things the customers wanted. But also the customers liked them, they had good conversations, they made the customer feel important. So there were all sorts of benefits of being a good listener that led to sales. So salespeople often think it's all about just talking about, look at these yachts, look how great they are. We've got the latest model. It's got the Lumar Special Mark II winch, isn't it great? And actually, customers don't want that. They want you to ask them questions and to understand them. And when you can find out all about what they want, you can then say, well, we can help you with that. So it's all about that. And there are loads of benefits of questioning. You learn stuff, obviously. You learn about what they want and what they don't want and what they've had in the past. You learn what their reasons for buying will be. So learning. You also avoid stepping on a mine. So imagine if you go in and say, look at this yacht. It's got a built-in jet ski that comes out of a hole in the side. The customer may be thinking, I hate jet skis. And you've just stepped on a mine. You've lost that job now. So how do you avoid just saying something that the customer's not going to like? And the answer is, don't go in there just talking. Just find out all about them. So you won't step on a mine. MMFI, does anybody know what that stands for? MMFI, have you seen that ever? I stole this from quite a famous book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's very dated now, actually, but there's still good stuff in there. And one of the things he says in there, Dale Carnegie, he says, imagine that everyone's got MMFI written on their forehead when you go to see them, and it stands for Make Me Feel Important. So people want to feel important. And how do you make somebody feel important? And the answer is you ask them questions. You ask them about them, and you're interested in them. And you talk about their favorite subject, which is themselves. So that's what you do. Make them feel important by asking them questions, and then they will like you. So we like people who make us feel important, and we like people who are interested in us. And we love talking about our favorite subject, which is ourselves. But there's one more reason as well, which I'll come to a bit more in detail in a minute, which is control. Because some people think if the other person's talking, they're controlling the conversation. But actually, if you're asking them questions and they're telling you stuff, you're controlling it. So if I say to you, what do you do in your spare time? And you say, I'm really into golf. And let's suppose I don't care about golf at all, which actually I don't. I could say to you, how interesting. So how long have you been playing for? And you say, I've been playing for 7 years. And I go, and what's your handicap? Oh, it's, 6 or something. Oh, that's really impressive. So apart from golf, what else do you do? So I can change the subject when I want. Apart from golf, what else do you do in your spare time? And then you might say, well, I'm also into taxidermy, and I quite like making stuffed dogs and cats and swapping their heads around. And I can go, well, that's really interesting. So have you got any photos? Oh, that's really good. And how much do they cost? And then when I've finished that one, I can say, and so apart from the golf and the taxidermy, what else do you do? Or I can say, so that's what you do in your spare time, but what do you do at work? And so I've got control. I can drill into a subject for as long as I like, and then I can start a new subject whenever I feel like it. So I've got control because I'm the one asking the questions and listening. So that's another big benefit. You want to be the one who's doing the listening, and you want them to be talking, and you can just steer them. I'll say a bit more about how to do that in a minute. Because it's all in the questions. So good salespeople are listeners, but that actually means they're good questioners. It's all in the questioning. Now, we all know about open and closed questions. So open questions are just things like, tell me about the last holiday you went on. If you say, have you ever hired a yacht before? That's a closed question. It's okay to start with a closed question, actually. It's a myth to say you shouldn't. So you can say, have you ever hired a yacht before? And when they say yes, you can say, what was it like? And then now you're into your open questions. So it's absolutely fine to do open questions. Oh, she's coming with the microphone. I thought someone was going to ask a question. By the way, if you do want to ask anything at any point, just put your hand up and the microphone will come and, it's fine. I quite like being interrupted because I know you're sort of still there, although I can see you. So you want to get an open question in quite early about, tell me about the last holiday you went on. But then you want to go into probing questions. And probing questions are where you really learn the useful information. So when they say it was really good, your probing question would be, what was it that you really liked about it? Or if they say it wasn't very good, you can say, oh, right, so tell me all about what happened. So probing questions, the tricky thing is you have to improvise because you don't know if they're going to say it was good or it wasn't good. But the good thing about probing questions is they have a fairly standard format. So there's a friend of mine who has, all he ever says is talk me through it. So we've just got back from holiday. Oh, talk me through it. Well, it was a bit disappointing. Oh, talk me through it. And there was this guy and he was really horrible. Really? Talk me through it. And all he says is talk me through it, and it works really well. Now, I don't think you should just say talk me through it. By the way, you can practice at lunchtime on each other, just thinking about it. But have about 3 versions of this. So you can say, talk me through it, or you can say, oh, really? Tell me more about that. And then you can have, and then what happened, or something like that. And all you need is those. And you can just probe until you're bored. And then you can say, okay, so I think I understand that now. Apart from that, what was it like? Or have you, apart from that holiday, have you ever been on any other sailing holiday? And you could start another funnel. But what we're doing, we're trying to understand the customer and what their needs are and what they want. Because then we could say, okay, so what you're really saying is, you wanted the boat to be a bit bigger and you didn't like the fact that there was nothing electric or the navigation or whatever. So if we could supply you with all those, would that be the perfect holiday? And when they say yes, you could say, well, let's do it then. You've got them, haven't you? Once you've found out what they want. So it's all in the questioning. And probing questions are really, really important and easy. So use the funnel, and this is called a questioning funnel. So the questioning funnel involves starting with open questions, going into probing questions, and then finally at the end a closed question. If I could help you with that, is it something you'd like to look at? And that's the close, isn't it? So that's the questioning funnel. And you'll probably want to do several funnels, like my golf example. Once you've really understood the golf, you could then say, okay, now what else do you do in your spare time? And then when you're bored with that one, you can say, and what do you do at work? And you start a new funnel. Now, I think this might be the last line on my slide. I can never remember. No, it isn't. There's one more line after this. I want to mention question, answer, comment. So if you just go question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, it's a bit too much like an interrogation. And maybe that's okay, because you could say, look, I want to ask you some questions so we can work out what the absolute best boat is for you. So how many people are you going to have, and what have you done before? So you can do that. You can get permission to ask them questions. But if you do question, answer, comment, it will feel like a conversation. It's not. It's still an interrogation. But they won't realize if you do question, answer, comment. So this is where you say, what do you do in your spare time? And they say, I'm really into golf. And then you go, and then you put a comment in. Oh, right, golf. Yeah, I'm terrible at golf. So what about you, though? What's your handicap? And then they say, oh, I've been practicing a while. I'm down to 6 now. You can go, God, that's really impressive. So whereabouts do you play? And they go, oh, I play at that little golf club down the road. You know that one just next to the big... And you go, oh, yeah, I've seen that. So what's it like there? So you just put a little comment like, I've seen that. If you just went, what's it like there? It would be too abrupt. So you go, yeah, I've driven past. It looks nice. What's it like there? So if you put that little comment in, it makes it feel like a conversation. The other thing that's good about putting a comment is it forces you to listen. Because if you don't put a comment, you'll already be planning your next question. And you're not really listening. And they'll know. Okay? So the game is, ask them a question, get a big long answer, put a little comment in, and then the next question. And ideally, you would be talking for 10% of the time, and they would be talking for 90% of the time. So, very small question, like 5%. Then 90%, they do a big, long, oh yeah, we went on this holiday, and it was really great, and we did this and that, and then the boat did this. And then you go, very short comment. Oh, that sounds absolutely amazing. And then what happened? And then off they go again. Da, 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 da. So you want them to be doing all the talking. So at the end of a good sales meeting, you should have their voice ringing in your ears, not yours. Okay, if you've got your own voice ringing in your ears, you've done too much talking. And it is very easy to do too much talking, especially when you're excited about the products. I mean, yachts are beautiful, lovely things, and you really want to tell them about the new one you've just got in. But no, it's all about them. You've got to find out about them. And only at the very end do you say, well, have a look at this. Okay? So that's mistake number 2, forgetting to be a good listener. Right, mistake number 3. Now, this is a tricky one, but a fun one, which is we tend to assume that everybody's like us. And actually, people are really varied, aren't they? Do you think that most people are a bit odd or almost mad? Because I do, but that's just because they're not like me. But maybe it's me that's mad. So, but anyway, we're all different, aren't we? And so ideally, you would adapt to the style of the customer. And there are lots of different models of personality. I saw a really interesting one yesterday, actually, on psychology. And I'd recommend that talk when it comes around again. But there are lots of models. But the one I use, and for me, this has just stood the test of time, and I've used it for years. I use it all the time. I used it actually on Martina. She doesn't know, but when we were talking about this conference, I immediately worked out what she was and used it on her. And it's basically it's how fast or slow does a person go, and how emotional or factual are they. And that gives us 4 types. Let's do a quick survey, though, before we start. So who would say they're fast? They make decisions quick, I just decide, and I'm impatient, and I just get on with it. Who would say they're towards the faster end of things? Right, put your hands up, quick, right, okay. And who would say they like to take a bit of time, they want to get the facts, they want to get to know people, and losers, yeah. No, actually, who's better? Who's better? We don't know. They're just different. I'm a fast decision maker, and I quite often get it wrong. Like when I met my wife first, I preferred her best friend. I actually went out with her best friend for a couple of months before I realized that the friend's friend was actually better. That's how crap I am. So I wish I could take a bit long. By the way, do you think that's true, or do you think I made that up? No, it is true. Yeah, it didn't go well initially. But anyway, but the point is that I kind of wish I would take a bit longer and really be more thorough and think things through, but it's just how I am. So we've got two types of people. They've got pros and cons. There they are. And then what about the emotional or factual? Do you make your decisions based on your head or your heart? So who would say they are a logical decision maker? So they make their decisions based on numbers and facts and all. Who would say they're pretty logical and yeah, a few, yeah. Basically don't have much soul. Okay, right. And who would say that they're emotional decision makers and they just go with the heart and, ooh, look at that, ooh, Italian. Oh, okay. So, yeah. And you can tell a lot, like if somebody's got a Volkswagen Passat diesel estate, it's the most sensible car in the world. Why would anybody not have a VW Passat diesel estate? Reliable, fuel efficient, big boot. And yet, people drive little red Italian sports cars and things which are just beautiful and fun, don't they? So, again, we have both types and it's all right. So, if you look at the combinations of these, you get 4 types of customer. So you can be slow and logical, fast and emotional, fast and slow and emotional. And we've given these names and colours to help people remember. This is quite a well-known theory you've probably seen. I won't spend too long on it. But the key is to adapt to whatever type of customer you have. Not just, well, that's how I roll and you'll have to fit in with my world. But ideally, you try to adapt. So the analytical people, anal for short, they are the slow and, I don't know if you've heard of people who are anally retentive, but people who can't let go, and they're sort of, it's all Freud. So the analytical people, they're sort of engineers, and they have to know every detail, every fact, very thorough. So clearly, if you're going to sell them a yacht, then you're going to tell them everything about it, the spec, how it's got the latest fancy this and that, and it's had little improvements made, and they love all that, and they want to know about that. What do we think about them, by the way? Do we think they're a bit sad? Or are they all right? No, I think they're great. I love analyticals because they do all the work for me. Somebody's worked out how to do this microphone and get all that working, and somebody's checked the batteries, I hope, of this and everything. Bring it on. I love analyticals because they do all the work. Aren't they great? So that's good. Accountants, engineers, that sort of thing. Then you've got the more fast decision-making logic people. These are the controllers. So they make decisions based on 2 or 3 key facts. Just tell me the ideal yacht and I will tell me what you want from your holiday. I will identify the correct yacht for you. Or you give them a choice of these are the top 3, which one do you want? And just shows the pros and cons of each. And they quite like making the final decision themselves. Do you want to go for this one or this one? And they go, I'll have that one. Because they like to think they're tough and decisive, and it's how they are. By the way, does anybody think they are a controller? Got any tough, decisive? Yeah, welcome to my macho world of redness. And does anybody think they're an analytical? Can I just see if we've got any of those scientific? Yes. But we've got 2 more. I'm just being rude about all 4, really, because it's more fun like that. Then we've got the fast emotional. So these are the enthusiasts. So these are the people who just think, I love that, I've got to have that. And obviously, yachts are very photogenic. So enthusiasts are very prone to, oh my God, look at that one. I've got to have that. So enthusiasts are basically about an image, a dream. Imagine turning up in that. You'll have the best yacht in the marina. Oh, yeah. And everyone else is going to think, ooh, I wish I was him. And so that's the enthusiasts thing. I'm a bit jealous of enthusiasts, actually, because they're really good at having fun. They don't think about hangovers tomorrow. They just think, well, hey, free wine. And so they're kind of fun people. They're optimistic. They have big dreams. And if you run a company, Richard Branson or something like that, you'll have a big dream of where it's going to go if you're an enthusiast. Whereas the analytical's always got lots of reasons why it may not work and lots of pros and cons, and they'll make sure nothing goes wrong. And you want to have them in the team, but the vision comes from the enthusiast, really. Does anybody think they are an enthusiast? Have we got any crazy? Oh, quite a few. Oh, maybe I painted too rosy a picture of the disorganized, crazy, alcoholic enthusiast. I don't know. Do you still think you are one? I don't know. No, but we love the enthusiast. By the way, it's quite hard to know what you are Because in your mind, there's all sorts of pros and cons going on and little subsections of your mind. So I'm very analytical about some things, like, my collection of Bob Dylan albums filed in order or whatever. So, but that doesn't mean I'm analytical really, because, I just have little subsections that are a bit analytical. And also, we all think we're normal, don't we? We all think we're right in the middle. If you're thinking, no, I'm right in the middle, you're probably not. You just think you are. So one way to find out what you are is to ask other people. Also, it doesn't matter what you are. It matters what your customers are. So if you are in the middle, that's great, because you can adapt with any of the four. So don't worry too much about what you are. But of course, we all want to know what we are, don't we? The other way to find out what you are, by the way, is to look at what you're not. So if analyticals drive you mad because they're so picky and so pedantic, then you're probably an enthusiast. Whereas if you just think enthusiasts are crazy, how can they be like that? Then you're probably an analytical. Why don't they get a grip? Why don't they make a list? If you're thinking that, you're probably analytical. And if you think controllers are scary and ruthless, then you're probably an amiable. And these are the nicest of the four. These are the lovely people who care. And they're into things like safety and trust and relationships and all that sort of thing. Are they a good customer? Yes, because they're really loyal. They'll come back to you every year. Whereas the enthusiast will go off after the next shiny thing and forget all about who they were with last year. So amiables can be fine, but if you're going to sell to an amiable, you have to put your feet up and chat and take your time, make them a cup of coffee, listen to them telling you all about their kids, pretend you're interested in their kids and their last holiday and all that sort of thing. And ideally, you actually would be interested, by the way, but because I'm a controller, I have to pretend to be interested, because I'm actually a really bad person. But, I have to hide that, pretend to be nice. So, but the amiables, they are genuinely nice. Anybody think they are an amiable, by the way? Cuddly amiables? Well, you couldn't lend me 20 quid, could you? You couldn't lend me £20. I'm a bit short. No, amiables, they'll always help you if you need. Right, anyway, so the big thing is to adapt, and that's just one model. But I really like that model because it's simple enough for my little brain to cope with. So when I met Martina, she went, right, what's your name? Can you do a talk on this? Are you available on this date? I thought, red. So I didn't bother with going into loads of detail. I just went, yep, I can do that. Let's book it in. We'll worry about the detail later. She went, yep, you're my kind of guy. And I thought, yep. And it was easy. Spotted a red a mile off. So, adapt to your customer. And I think that's really important. Don't just say, well, that's how I am. Finally, on this one, do you think it's dishonest to adapt to different people with different ways? No. I think it's polite. I think it's manners. If somebody wants lots of detail, give it to them. If somebody wants, you to look at pictures of their kids for half an hour, you should. So I think it's only polite. So anyway, that's number 3. I want to zoom on to number 4. Number 5 is quicker, by the way, in case you're wondering about time, and we're definitely going to be on time for lunch. Don't worry, lunch. So number 4, talking about how great your product is. Now, I've already been saying, really, we want to find out about the customer. But if you say this is the latest blah and it's got all these extra features and it's wonderful, they just think, oh, well, so what? And I'll give you an example in a minute. In fact, I did a bit of research into yachts, and I discovered you can have things like this. I've been on one sailing holiday to the Greek islands. It was great, actually. I don't know that much about yachts, but apparently you can have things like a Lumar 2-speed winch, and a self-tacking jib, and a main sheet on a bridle. I mean, but if you said to me it's got all this, I'd be thinking, so what? And I'd be trying to work out how that's good. So it's got a really flat roof on the cabin. I'm thinking, there's probably a reason why that's good, but it's an effort for me to think about that. So we want to make it easy for the customer, okay? We don't want to just go on about features. It's benefits that we want. So what we do is we try to tell them about the benefits they're going to get from those features. And not all the features and all the benefits, because that would take forever. We want to find out just what they want and then tell them that. So if they just want a yacht that is going to impress everyone else on the marina, we need to say, well, these are the features that will impress everyone else in the marina, and you'll get that benefit. Or if they want a yacht that's really fast and exciting to sail, you want to show them just the features that are going to give them that benefit. Okay? So you find out what the benefit they want is, and then you show them the features that are going to give them that. So this requires a little bit of pre-work, because you have to think about what all the features are and what benefits come from those. Do a little chart. But once you've done that once, you've got it forever. Every customer you talk to, you just pull out those particular benefits. So find out what they want, show them the ones that give it. And then you use a thing called which means. It's got this feature, which means you will get this benefit. So I just did a couple on here. So you could say it's got an electric anchor windlass, which is the thing that pulls the anchor up, but I think you probably already know that. And you could say it's got this electric windlass, which means that even if you're really tired after a hard day of sailing, when you finally arrive at your, you pull into the marina, you just press a button and it comes up. And by the way, if the person looks a bit frail or is old, you don't want to go, you look a bit old and weak, so the electric windlass will be really good. So I was thinking a good way to word it would be to say, if you're a bit tired after a day of sailing, and they'll be thinking, great, I like the sound of that. But you could say, if it's a family and they've got their children, you could say the great thing is your kids can pull the anchor up for you, and they can get involved. So, but you wouldn't say that if they didn't have kids, so you want to find out about them first. Or you might say it's really fast. So when you come into moor, you can come zooming in with your electric thing, and you could just straight in. Because there's a whole sort of little hierarchy of how cool you are when you arrive at the mooring, isn't there? Because what we did, I don't know if it's normal, we used to sit there with a glass of wine watching everybody else arriving and laughing at how it took them several goes to get into them. Oh, look at that. Oh, they overshot. Ugh. So I think you could say with the electric windlass, you can just come in really smoothly, time it perfectly. It's really easy. But anyway, whatever it is that they want, we want to be able to show it. And similarly, the flat roof, apparently it gives you better visibility when you're sailing, when you're leaning right over, charging along really fast. But also, you can put sun cushions on it. And clearly that's a different type of customer. But if they just want to sit around in the sunshine, you can say, this is the best one for you. It's got a really flat roof, which means your whole family can lie out in the sun on top of the boat. Okay? So it's being in the mind of the customer. Not just talking about the features, but linking the benefits. Right. My final mistake that people make is inefficiency. And salespeople often think that it's all about the customer and the chat and everything. I actually think efficiency is really important as well. And often people lose sales because they're not efficient. I've got 2 slides to finish, right? This is the first one on efficiency. So the first one is getting back to people the same day. So if I get an email saying, we'd like to pay you thousands of pounds to come and talk in Zagreb, I reply the same day. Damn right. But when I do reply the same day, they often go, thank you for such a quick response. And I'm thinking, really? There's other people who take longer? That's just ridiculous. Why would you not reply the same day? So why is replying the same day so important? And obviously, the first thing is because if I take 3 days to reply, it's possible that they found somebody else in that time. And imagine replying, they go, no, sorry, we've already got somebody now. And they might be in a hurry. So that's the first thing. I mean, reply quickly because of that. But it's no extra work for you. It doesn't matter when you reply. It's the same amount of work. So surely you would do it straight away. And it's less stressful just to get it done. You don't want things hanging over you. I need to reply to that Zagreb inquiry, So just reply straight away. Also, the customer feels important if you reply straight away. And finally, by the way, I've got a little system. I put a full stop after the last line. Can you see I've got a full stop there? So I know it's the last line. That's my little secret system. They feel they can trust you. Because customers don't really trust salespeople. Oh, he's going to try and flog me something that I don't want or whatever, which is totally not true. I want to flog you the thing that's best for you. But how can I get you to trust me? And if I reply straight away and I'm really reliable, you're starting to think this is someone I can trust. Whereas if I don't always reply at all, or I don't always, then you start thinking, well, this person just doesn't seem. Is he going to turn up to the conference if he doesn't even reply to emails? So, will that yacht be there when I turn up for my holiday? So you want to be right on it so the customer thinks these people are trustworthy. And they're looking for signs from that very first interaction. So replying straight away, that's a total no-brainer. And then finally, sort of mistake 5B, I suppose you could say, is following up after a proposal. So this is my last slide. Following up after a proposal. And I want to ask you, I've put one of them there, but just think in your mind, why is following up important? If you send somebody a price, we can do, you want 3 yachts for 6 weeks and it's going to cost 25 grand or whatever it is. You send it to them. Surely if they want it, they're going to get back to you and say yes, aren't they? So why do we have to email them or ring them up a week later and say, what did you think? Was the proposal okay? Why would we do that? And the first thing is it makes them feel valued. I don't know about you, but I've had builders who've come round looking at my house, which always needs work doing. It's always falling apart. They go away, I'll send you a quote. They don't even send a quote. And I just think, they didn't, they obviously don't want the work. Sometimes they send a quote, and then I'm looking at it thinking, cool, that's quite a lot of money, I don't know. And I put it on the too hard pile, and then they never ring. And I think, they've forgotten me. They obviously don't care. I went for a test drive of a BMW. They never even rang me up afterwards to say, what did you think? So I'm thinking, well, they obviously don't like me or they don't care about me. They don't want my business. So if I actually buy that car, I'm going to get bad service from them. So the first thing is, if you don't follow them up, I know you might feel you're nagging them, but actually you're saying to them, I value your business and I would like you to be my customer. So that's the first reason. But there are some other reasons that are really important. The second one, it might push them into buying. So when the builder rings me up and says, what do you think? I've got this on the too hard pile. It's 10 grand for my gutters or some boring, horrible thing. I'm thinking, I don't know. But when he rings up and says, look, do you want me to do it or not? I'm probably going to go, yeah, I think I'd better. So it might push me into buying. But the next 2 reasons are the biggest, I think. There might be an objection that you can handle. So they might be looking at your proposal thinking, I like it, but there's only room for 3 people in the cabin and I've got 4. So when you ring up and they go, well, I like it, but unfortunately, you can go, no, there's a 4th berth in the stern. And they go, is there? I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Well, in that case, we'll have it. There might be some ridiculous objection that you don't know about. So you have to ask that question. We've got to have more applause than that in a minute. Can you, in a minute, I want you all to go, but anyway, not that I'm competing at all with the loser stage next door. But the final reason I wanted to have, and this is actually the last bit of this slide, is if it's a no, at least you know why. So if they say, we're not going to buy from you because we had a meeting with you and you didn't even give us a cup of tea, that's kind of hurtful and horrible to be told. But at least we know. Or we're not buying from you because we've heard a rumor that, your yachts are always filthy when you arrive and all the cushions are dirty and all that. That's really useful to know. Because firstly, you can fix that problem, but also you can make sure in your sales talk that you show them how all the yachts are always pre-cleaned and here are some photos of immaculate yachts. So if we can find out why we were rejected, we can fix it for next time. So always follow up, even if it's bad news. It's probably an objection you can handle, but even if you can't handle it, at least you know what it was for next time. So always follow up, and that's a common mistake that people don't. They just don't bother, and it's so easy to do. It doesn't take any time at all. Does it just to ring them up or email? I'd ring them up, by the way. It's better. Ring them up and just say, did you get the proposal? What did you think? So there we are. Those are my 5. Be confident in your price and don't come down. Be a great listener. Adapt. Show them how you give the benefits that they're looking for. And efficiency. Quick turnaround and always follow up. And there we are. Those are the 5 sales objections. If you want to know more, by the way, just stick Chris Croft training into the internet. I'm all over it. There's YouTube and LinkedIn. And do link into me. I'd really like that. And I've got one more thing, actually, before we finish, which is this. Oh, my God, he's come into the audience. What's he doing? I'm going to just give you this to pass around. This is for the back row. This is for the next row. If you want to get my tip of the month, free forever, and it never repeats. Free forever, and it never repeats. Add your email to this piece of paper. And if anybody's in a rush for lunch, I'm going to just I've got a few more here. But if you just pass it along. In fact, no, let's do them from the other end as well. And if you just leave them on your chair, I'll get them afterwards. My tip of the month, marketing. There we are, and yours will come across. So, yeah, if you want to know more, tip of the month will arrive free forever. I'm going to hang around. You can ask me questions. I'm going to hang around for a few minutes afterwards. You could just ask me one-to-one questions. and do what? The amiable people, yes. I'll hang around. The nice amiable people can come and chat without having to be on the spot in front of everyone. Yes, the amiable people will take care of the list. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you like my tip of the month. So there we are. Those are my 5 talks. And good luck with all your selling, everybody. Thank you for having me. Cheers.